Today's topic is taking the plant that truly heals your stomach. Do you suffer from gastritis, heartburn, or reflux? Because of this, does your life seem to depend on one of those Omeprazole pills? If so, you know the cycle well. The pain intensifies. You reach for the pill. Feel that relief. But the next day, or the following week, there it is again. It feels like a dead end, right? The frustration of only putting out the fire without ever fixing what causes the fire. But what if I told you that a scientific study conducted here in Brazil compared Omeprazole with a powerful plant, and the results are, at the very least, very interesting. They suggest that this plant may be a different way to take care of your stomach. In this video, I'll tell you what plant it is, what science has to say about it, and how you can use it as an ally in treating your stomach. Stay with me until the end, because the information I'm about to give you isn't guesswork. It's based on science, and it could be the key to taking control of your digestive health. Understanding Omeprazoles and their use. Before jumping to the solution, we need to understand the complete scenario. Millions of people use Omeprazole and its cousins, pantoprazole, lansoprazole, to control stomach problems, and there's no denying it. They work to relieve symptoms. They belong to a class of medications called proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs. Think about your stomach. To digest food, it needs to produce acid. This highly acidic environment is super important, as it's our first line of defense against bacteria that enter with what we eat. What does Omeprazole do? It acts directly on the stomach cells and reduces the production of this acid. Imagine that heartburn and acid reflux are your body's fire alarm, a sign that the stomach lining is inflamed and damaged. One of the strategies in medicine is to reduce the offending agent, the acid, so that the mucosa can recover. By reducing acidity, Omeprazole allows the healing of lesions such as gastritis and ulcers, being an important part of standard treatment. The problem is not the medication itself, but the way it is sometimes used continuously for months or years, as if it were a bullet without an exit plan. And that's where relief can come at a price. More recent studies are beginning to raise some yellow flags about chronic use. When stomach acidity is reduced for too long, some problems can appear. First, protein digestion may become a little slower, which for some people can generate a feeling of heaviness and bloating. Second, and perhaps the point that deserves the most attention, is the absorption of some nutrients. The acidic environment helps the body absorb important minerals and vitamins. Prolonged use of prazoles has been associated in some studies with an increased risk of deficiency in vitamin B12, essential for the brain, and calcium, which can affect bone health, and magnesium, a key mineral for hundreds of bodily functions. So, sometimes a person feels tired, with cramps, and doesn't even imagine that this could be related to the stomach medication they've been using for years. Third, a possible imbalance in the intestinal flora. Stomach acidity is a protective barrier. Reducing this barrier for a prolonged period can, in some cases, facilitate the growth of bacteria where they shouldn't, such as in the small intestine, a condition called SIBO, or increase the risk of infections such as Clostridioides difficile. The evidence on this is still being built, but it is a point of attention. The intention here is not to demonize Omeprazole. It is a very important medication that saves lives in serious cases, such as bleeding ulcers or in the treatment of H. pylori bacteria, always with medical indication and monitoring for a specific period of time. The big issue is the normalization of chronic use, as if it were the only solution, when in fact it is a tool that, ideally, should be used strategically and for a defined period of time. The Brazilian scientific revelation. Now that we understand the complexity of using prazoles, let's move on to the turning point. What if there was a strategy from nature that, instead of just focusing on shutting down acidity, sought to strengthen and protect the stomach lining? This is where the star of our video comes in. A plant native to Brazil, widely known as Espinheira santa. Its use for the stomach is nothing new. It has been part of popular wisdom for generations. Our grandparents already trusted in tea made from this plant to relieve heartburn. What has changed is that modern science has decided to put this wisdom to the test. One of the most interesting studies was conducted by researchers here in Brazil. They carried out a clinical trial considered the gold standard, randomized, double-blind, and controlled. Let's translate this scientific jargon, because that's what gives weight to the information. Randomized means that the patients were randomly divided into groups. Double-blind means that neither the patients nor the researchers administering the treatment knew who was taking omeprazole and who was taking the espinharisanta extract. This prevents anyone's expectations from influencing the results. It's a super rigorous way to test if something works. In this study, with patients with reflux symptoms, one group received omeprazole, and 2 others received different doses of espinharisanta extract. After 4 weeks, they evaluated everyone's symptoms. And the result? The study concluded that the espinharisanta extract was non-inferior to omeprazole in controlling symptoms. Non-inferior means that the plant proved to be as effective as the medication in relieving heartburn and acid reflux and improving the quality of life of the study participants. Think about the strength of that conclusion. A natural, traditional treatment has been rigorously tested and has proven to be a viable alternative for relieving symptoms. But what's most fascinating is how it seems to work. Unlike omeprazole, which focuses on reducing acid, espinharisanta is believed to have a more protective and healing action. Compounds in the plant, such as tannins and flavonoids, appear to create a layer that protects the stomach lining. It's as if it helps the stomach defend itself against its own acid, creating a more favorable environment for inflammation gastritis to decrease and healing to occur. Furthermore, laboratory studies suggest it has anti-inflammatory action and may have some activity against the Helicobacter pylori bacteria, one of the culprits in many cases of gastritis and ulcers. It is important to say that these studies are preliminary and do not mean it cures the infection in humans, but they show that it acts on several fronts to help soothe the stomach. The nature support team, espinharisanta is the protagonist, but in nature things rarely work alone. There are other plants that can complement this action, like a support team. Let us get to know 3 of them. 1. Brazilian pepper tree, Chinostedavine, the warrior of Brazilian flora. The Brazilian pepper tree, also called pink peppercorn, is another jewel of Brazil. Laboratory and animal studies have shown that the Brazilian pepper tree has an interesting action against Helicobacter. Think of it as an extra force that can help fight one of the causes of chronic stomach irritation. However, it is crucial to understand that these studies are initial, and there is still no robust research in humans that proves that it eradicates the bacteria. 2. Aloe vera, the soothing gel. Who hasn't used aloe vera on a sunburn? The logic for the stomach is similar, but here's a huge warning. Don't go around eating the leaf. The leaf's outer layer and a yellowish liquid inside, aloin, are irritating and should not be consumed. What is safely used is the pure, transparent gel from inside the leaf. This gel is known for its calming and anti-inflammatory action. The idea is that it can coat and soothe the esophagus and stomach like a balm. Although some small studies suggest benefits for symptoms, scientific evidence is still limited, and more research is needed. 3. Chamomile. Matricaria chamomile, the peacemaker. Chamomile is the queen of calm, and this applies to the stomach as well. It has a well-known anti-inflammatory and anti-spasmodic action, meaning it helps relax the stomach muscles, relieving those cramps and pains that sometimes accompany gut. One of its greatest advantages is the mind-stomach connection. We know that stress is a huge trigger for gastritis flare-ups. Chamomile works on 2 fronts. It calms the nervous system and, at the same time, helps soothe stomach inflammation, creating a more tranquil environment for recovery. Together, these plants form a supportive strategy. Espinharisanta protects, aloe vera has antimicrobial potential, aloe vera calms, and chamomile relieves stress and inflammation. Practical guide, the gastric comfort tea. Okay, the theory is great, but how do you use this in everyday life? The simplest and most traditional way is with a combined tea. I'll give you a preparation suggestion. Ingredients: 1 liter of filtered water, 1 tablespoon of dried espinharisanta leaves, 1 teaspoon of dried chamomile flowers, 1 teaspoon of dried aloe vera bark. Preparation method: the secret is in the process. Bring the liter of water to a boil. As soon as it starts to bubble, before it boils completely, turn off the heat. Boiling water can spoil some sensitive components of the plants. Place the holy thorn, chamomile, and aloe vera in hot water. Cover the pot or kettle tightly. This step is crucial. It retains the essential oils, which are responsible for much of the therapeutic effect, and prevents them from escaping with the steam. Let it steep for 10 to 15 minutes, then simply strain. How and when to drink it? The traditional suggestion is to drink 2 to 3 cups a day. A good time is about 30 minutes before main meals, lunch, and dinner to help prepare the stomach. Drinking it afterward can also help soothe digestion. And the aloe vera. Aloe vera gel works best separately. You can blend 2 tablespoons of pure gel with a little water, 200 millilitros, and drink it in the morning on an empty stomach. Or, if you prefer, mix a spoonful of gel directly into your already warm cup of tea. Remember, this is a supportive practice based on traditional use. The key is consistency, offering your body compounds that help create an environment conducive to improvement. The most important warning: safety first. Now, please pay close attention, because this is the most crucial and responsible part of the video. Being natural doesn't mean it can be used by just anyone, in any way. Medicinal plants have active ingredients and need to be used with respect and knowledge. Contraindications. SPS maitenos. Ilicifolia. It is generally contraindicated for pregnant or breastfeeding women. Some older reports suggest it could interfere with fertility. So as a precaution, those trying to conceive should also avoid it. Aloe vera, Chinos, terebinthifolius should also be avoided by pregnant and breastfeeding women. Aloe vera. Internal use of the gel is not recommended for pregnant women, breastfeeding women, and children. And, repeating, use only the transparent gel. The second warning, and this is the most important of all. This video is not a recommendation for you to stop or change your medical treatment on your own. Never, under any circumstances. Stop taking a medication like Omeprazole suddenly, and without talking to your doctor. Withdrawal needs to be gradual and monitored, because the body can have a rebound effect, producing too much acid all at once. So, what's the right approach? See these plants as allies in your process. You can start including the tea in your routine while continuing with the treatment prescribed by your doctor. The goal is to create the best conditions for healing in your body. The ultimate goal is that, over time, by strengthening your stomach and adjusting your lifestyle habits, diet, stress, you can, in conversation with your doctor, explore the possibility of gradually reducing the medication dose. Your doctor, observing your improvement, can guide you in this weaning process in a completely safe way. The knowledge you gain today empowers you to have a richer conversation with your doctor. To arrive and say, "Doctor, I read about the precautions regarding the prolonged use of omeprazole, and also about a study with espinherisanta, maitenus, that found it to be as effective as the medication for the symptoms. I would like to use it as a support for my stomach, so that we can, together, work on a plan so that perhaps I will no longer need this medication in the future." That is taking control of your own health, intelligently and responsibly. We started this conversation talking about a cycle of pain and dependence on a pill. A cycle that, in the long term, can raise some questions. But now you have a new perspective. A path that unites popular wisdom with the validation of modern science. You discover that espinherisanta, a Brazilian plant, proved to be as effective as omeprazole in relieving symptoms in a serious study. And you learn to boost this action with a powerful support team. The final message is autonomy. You don't have to be a passenger in your treatment. You can be the protagonist of your improvement. If this information brought you light, hope, imagine how many other people it can be useful for. Please share this video. Send it to that friend or relative who always carries a box of Prazole in their pocket. You can give them a missing piece in their health puzzle. And if you want more content that connects natural health with science in a clear way and without crazy promises, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Now, I really want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Did you already know about espinherisanta? Have you used any of these plants for your stomach? How was it for you? Let's create a community of exchange and support here. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Remember, nature gives us the tools. and science helps us understand how to use them. Use both wisely.